we have to take this back because you've been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of days
Yeah,
now.
almost three.
Yeah, for like 300 days plus, and the journey doesn't start there,
No.
right? Like the journey starts 300 days ago, but there's also a lot more before that.
Yeah.
Um, Talk about why you decided to jump in the ice.
Um, Man, I mean, I could take you back, probably as far as like when I was about, 3.5 years old.
Let's go. Let's go.
You know, I think probably the earliest memory I had was, when my parents sat me down, on their bed and told me they were getting a divorce, and I was like, man, this is like, what is this?
Yeah.
My dad doesn't love my mom anymore, like, and,
Yeah.
and I think that just like shook me for so many years. Um, and I played hockey, fairly high level hockey growing up for a long, long time. And that was kind of like my escape. It was escape from like feeling the things that put me in that spot. And I think, when my parents split up, caused a lot of trauma. And so that was my way to kind of suppress it through athletics, through, just being in the gym and working out.
Mhm.
And then when I stopped playing, it's really kind of when things started to hit me. And it's like, well, who am I?
Yeah.
And that, probably started as early as like 18 to 20 years old. And I really, was confused for a long time, into drugs and into, partying and doing stuff that, would put people down a pretty dark path.
Mhm.
And yeah, it just took me into some really rough places. And, for a long time, I wasn't really proud of myself at all. Even though, I was kind of living this life where I was putting on this facade that, everything was cool. It wasn't cool. And, it wasn't really up until, I want to say probably just after the birth of my first child, whereas like, what am I really doing here, bro?
Yeah.
And, that's really, when I started to take it seriously, like you got to really dig deep within yourself to find out who you are. And that's when I went down this path of like, self-development and really finding out like what I'm made of. Um, and that was really just the beginning. Um, I would say, probably up until like 3 years ago is where I really started to like kind of start to find answers. And this was just one way of like going one level deeper. I was doing cold showers for a couple of years before this, but nothing, to this extreme. I'd do it when I was motivated, and when
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
But this was like, if you can get into cold water every day, as crazy as it sounds, it's just cold water. Um, but it doesn't allow you to think about all that other shit that's going on inside your life. And so it really just makes you take a really deep dive inside yourself, and really reflect on who you are. And through that, I've built this platform and, been able to hopefully inspire some people and really changing their life and living a better life.
Absolutely. I mean,
Nice.
that's a very deep and really amazing thing that you're able to share. A lot of people, I will speak for myself as well. Yeah, when I found out my parents were getting divorced, it wasn't a great experience. All of a sudden, you have a family unit,
Yeah.
but now all of a sudden now you have they're not there. It's a weird feeling, especially when you're going through it at a young age because you don't understand why.
Right. And I mean, like, I don't know if everyone has these thoughts whose parents go through divorces, but it's like, well, if my dad doesn't love my mom, like, is it possible that he
They
doesn't love
don't.
me too?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so you always have this feeling of like, where do I fit in?
Hmm.
And wanting to prove to everybody that, or try to get on everybody's good side, that you want everybody to like you. And so I was doing a lot of things like just to try to be cool or have people think that, I was cool, or wanted to fit in where I probably shouldn't have.
Hmm.
And it was just for that reason. Like I really just wanted that validation from other people that I probably didn't get when I was younger. And, really took me on a path that, I'm grateful for, in hindsight, but, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody because it's tough, man. A lot of people don't make it out of that place.
That's well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, right? Like, and it's like as a society and as men especially, it's like often frowned upon for us to kind of share what we're going through. Because we're always taught from a young age, it's like you have to be strong,
Hmm.
and that's what a man, quote unquote, is you can't share your emotions. But where did you start learning that development side to you, right? Like, hey, this is like some days I'm not feeling great. Like some days I'm just gonna wake up and it's like I don't want to get out of bed. So where did you start learning that aspect of about your life and kind of just going on a journey of being like, okay, this is okay, but I'm gonna continue to work on this and go from there.
I would say it had to have been within these last like 300 days, and
Yeah.
and doing these ice baths, again, as crazy as it sounds, has really just brought that out of me, that it is okay to feel that way, because the things that we think about
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily reflect like who we are. It's just a thought that we have. It doesn't have to control us. Doesn't have to, decide what we do and what we don't do. And I think a lot of people fall down that trap, is like, if I'm thinking this, that must be who I am. And so if I'm thinking it, I can't separate myself from that identity. And, just being in the cold water just allows you to disassociate that, because I don't want to get in that water. I don't. Every day I stare at it, even, in the middle of the summer, it's warm outside. The water's not that cold. And I still have those thoughts like, don't do it. Don't get in. This is going to suck. And I do it anyway. And that allows me to at least prove to myself that you can still do something even though you don't think you can. And when you get through the other side of it, that's really where you start to develop this confidence in yourself. Like, I'm not that person. I can just think these thoughts and still be okay. But yeah, like even from a young age, my family, especially, on my dad's side, is like very, I would say, emotionally immature.
Yeah.
And it's not really like normal to like talk about your emotions or talk about how you're feeling. And so a lot of that stuff was always suppressed for me. And it's just become a little bit more natural to talk about it now,
Right.
talk about how I'm feeling. Even though it's still very uncomfortable for me to do, it's something that I've at least kind of broken out of my shell in that sense, where it's like, yeah, you know what? It's just part of who I am, and everybody else is like this too, whether they
Yeah.
want to admit it or not.
And it helps. It helps talking about it too. If you keep all your emotions in and you don't say anything, then so many other people are doing the exact same thing, and a lot of people will relate. Even myself right now, just listening to you, you'll relate to those things, and that's what gives a lot of times the courage to make a change and to do something. I'm the type of person that I'll just get busy. Like I'll find something, even whatever I'm going through, and I will just put everything towards that instead of maybe dealing with the things. Is that healthy? Is that not? I don't know, right? But that's kind of the way that I go about things. And is it right or wrong? Nobody knows. Like, that's whatever it is. But do you think that the ice bath is a way for you to put that aside? Like when you're in the ice bath, you're not thinking about anything. Like you go into a different spot in your mind.
Yeah, it is. It's not an escape though. Like it doesn't it's not like, when I come home from a day of work and I just like binge watch Netflix, or like, play 2K or something for hours on end, and just want to escape the reality that I'm living. This is more like you're getting in there and you are not able to think about those things, because the only thing you're trying to think about is just surviving in this cold water.
Yeah.
So it's not an escape in that sense, where I'm like putting the rest of my life off to the side.
Yeah.
But what it's allowing me to do is just separate those two parts of my brain, and thinking that even though I still hate this, I don't want to do it, even after almost 300 days of doing this, I still don't like it. That I can still get through it anyway, and it's not going to hurt me. It's not going to kill me.
Did